Hi everyone, it's been a long time since I last posted a video, but we're back online with new stuff for you. So today I'll be talking about the recent requirement that I encountered, and I think it'll be interesting to showcase the solution that I came up with. So the requirement was from the customer to stage the product before load or loads get built. And what I mean by that is they want to have multiple sales order released at the same time. Let's say we have 10 sales order transactions, and they want to stage all 10 without knowing what bay door or what load the sales order is going to go to. So from the AX standpoint, it sounds like it's a simple scenario and it should be easily reproduced in the system by using your simple pick and put to stage and from the stage to the bay door. The problem is when you try to stage all these 10 sales orders, what the system will do, the system will automatically generate only one load, or you can have multiple loads depending on your setup, and you need to pick those from staging to bay door, and the bay door is represented as a truck coming in, as an incoming truck. So the issue there is, how would the user know what to pick from staging to the bay door? So hypothetically, each sales order can go on a different truck, and we need to tell the system somehow that a specific stage sales order or sales orders need to go to the bay door 1, which is represented by truck 1 coming in, right? So there are a couple of ways you can approach this. One is that you can, there are a couple of ways you can solve this problem. One is your paper solution, which I don't really like, but it's still possible. What you have to do, once the product is staged, the picking from the staging will be done based on either a license plate or shipment ID, anything like that. And how this will happen in the warehouse, the warehouse manager will stack shipments as a stack of paper and decide that these shipments, they have to go to this truck, and they'll hand the shipments paperwork to the warehouse worker, and they'll have to pick shipment and stage it to a specific bay, right? So it sounds like something doable, but there are a lot of customers nowadays that want to go completely paperless. So I'm just going to go over the diagram that actually we're seeing is the outbound pick to stage sample framework. And what this is just a standard framework that we have in AX for the scenario that I mentioned. So we start with building the load. This can be done manually or automatically. Let's say we manually build the load, and we know that this load goes to the bay door 1 because truck 1 is coming in, right? So we put all the products from that sales order to staging, and from staging we do the pick and put to the bay door. So this is your happy scenario. Why I say happy? Because you already know your load and you're operating based on the load that you created. So it makes it simple because all of that transaction logic can be tied to a load because you already built that load, right? So, and also the scenario implies that you have a specific dedicated staging area for one bay door or a load. I'm gonna switch to a different diagram and try to talk about this scenario that I'm gonna try to show you guys. So what this diagram explains is the solution that I came up with, and this is the product staging before building the load. So you want to stage the product before you build the load. And many of you will say that this would be your simple replenishment scenario, right? So instead of building the load, you have your replenishment area. This is similar. This is usually a scenario for the retail vertical, right? But in my case, it wasn't a retail customer, it was a manufacturing company, and they do have a replenishment concept, but since they're not high volume distribution company, they don't really use that standard 365 replenishment to fulfill this type of demand. So what we gonna do is actually attack this problem from a different standpoint. So we're going to release multiple sales orders to the warehouse. And I'm going to kind of go over this pitfalls. Once we go in the system, I'm going to talk about the pitfalls of this solution and what not to do. So we're gonna release multiple sales orders, and again, this is where we still don't know the load. We just want to stage the product because the warehouse workers, they have some downtime, right? So at this point, we're releasing multiple sales orders to the warehouse. Each sales order will create a load. So once we have the work, I had a requirement that the work needs to be assigned manually by warehouse manager, or the work has to be distributed manually by warehouse manager to users, right? So there is that feature in AX that you can change work owner or work assigned to, and then use a user ID for the work grouping. And what I mean by that, in a live scenario, you would have your worker entering their user ID, and only work that was assigned to them will show up on that handout, right? So the third step of this diagram is when we stage the sales order or sales order. So we'll have, in my demo, I'm gonna have two just for the simplicity. I'm gonna have two sales orders. They will get staged. Once they're staged, we're gonna do the picking from stage to the loading based on the loads that we're gonna build after the product is staged. So the trick here is that the load is built after the fact the product is staged. And the final step is we pick the product from staging to the bay door with a paperless process. So there will be no paper in this process. We're gonna use the newly load ID to kind of group your stage pallets. And let's jump in the system and I'll walk you through the process. So let's finally walk the talk. I'm gonna walk you through a scenario that we just went over on those slides. So things to avoid for this scenario to work. In the warehouse management, there are a couple of places you can build the loads or release work. So if you try to release work for the group of sales orders, in my case, we'll be working with two sales orders. One is 915, 916, and I've already released those sales orders from a sales order form, individually sales order by sales order. You can do it in batch, but the two forms or two processes to avoid is this release to the warehouse form. And once you start grouping those, right, once you add the two, for example, here, and try to release the work by using the release the work functionality, it will group your work for both shipments under one header. So for our scenario, it will not work. You will be able to shuffle your shipments into different loads. However, you cannot pick from stage by the load if multiple shipments are linked to one work ID. And I'll go over it once we get to the actual work process. So another form to avoid is our load planning workbench. And when I say to avoid, is basically don't try to group shipments and then release the work for group shipments that for the load that you created, because it will create work under one header, which will not work for us at the end. So in my case, I'm gonna go to the sales orders, or actually I'm gonna quickly show you the work template that we'll be using. It's pick, put, pick, put. We're using two different work classes, sales order picking and then sales order loading. So the magic will happen at the sales order loading stage. For now, I'll show you that we have two sales orders that we will be working with. It's 915, 916. So the 915, it's the simple sales order one-liner that has work that's already been created. So I'm gonna show you work details quickly. You'll see that there's only one type of pick and put, so we're not grouping our sales order work under one header. So I'm gonna quickly try to complete this sales order work by clicking outbound, sales picking, enter my work ID. I'm at the wrong warehouse, not sure why. To change that, do the outbound sales picking, enter my work ID. System will prompt me for the license plate where I'm picking the product from. So basically, if you're not doing your batch reservation FIFO on the sales order, the license plate will not be suggested by the system, so you'll have to do it, you'll have to enter it manually. Or if you enable your batch FIFO reservation, the system will suggest you the license plate to pick from. So for us, I'm gonna quickly find the license plate to pick from. Quickly have Add that. And we're trying to fulfill this product right here. So we're going to use this license plate here. I'm going to enter that. Picking one pallet. So target license plate. There are ways that the system can generate the license plate for you, and I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with that. However, if we have some beginners on our channel, this information is configured in a mobile device menu. So if you go under sales order picking, sales picking, this is where you determine whether the system will generate license plate automatically or you will have to enter it manually. So for us, we're going to enter it manually. Demo license plate 01. I'm going to OK that. And now we're doing the put stage. And the put stage is done into the location staging. And I want you to focus on the idea that we're staging into one location without knowing where the product is going to end up after. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to perform the same transaction for the second sales order, right? So now if I go back to this work, you'll see that the pick and put closed. So now it's the product into the stage. So now we have to load after we're done with the second sales order. So I'm going to quickly complete the work for the second sales order. Here it is, second sales order, quantity of 42 pallets. That's what we're moving. I'm going to enter my work ID, same process here. License plate, I'm going to use the same license plate. Target license plate, all the demo license plate 1. We can use a different license plate. Work is now completed. I want to show you as well that work is now completed. So we stage our group of sales orders. Let's say we have 10 or 20. So then after the product is staged, a probable scenario, you would need to get a quote from your carriers, what's going to go, what shipment's going to go on what truck. So if you've linked a shipment from this form, load planning workbench, if the shipment is linked to the load, the shipment will disappear from this list. And many of you will think that once the shipment is linked to the load, it's impossible to shuffle shipments to different loads and or to the new loads. So this functionality is not available from this form, and this form is mostly used by customers that I've seen. So that in order to shuffle shipments, you'll have to use the all shipments form, right? And these are our two shipments, right? And we'll see that each shipment has a unique load ID. So we have two loads, and I want you to think for our scenario that we got a quote back from our carriers, and they said that these both shipments can go on one truck, right? So the product is staged, and we somehow need to pick up these pallets or license plates or boxes, whatever the scenario might be for you, and put them into the bay door 1 or any bay door that we will determine or the system determines, right? So how do you achieve that? Well, first of all, you need to configure your mobile device menu, and the mobile device menu sales loading is configured by system grouping. And what this does, it will prompt the user to enter load ID to group the work, right? So if you enter, in our scenario, if you enter the load ID 15, it will open the work that's linked to this specific load ID, right? However, for us, we want to group these loads into the one, and this will group all the shipments or license plate that you stage into one, and the one user can do the staging to bay door work. So this will only work if you have one work header per shipment. If you have multiple shipments on the work header and you try to enter your load ID into your mobile handheld device, the system will fail. It will tell you that there's no work linked to the load. However, it's not true. You still have the work, but it's grouped. It's coming from multiple shipments. The system cannot do the grouping. So I'm going to use this form to group those shipments into one. So I'm going to group the I'm going to move the shipment 15 to load 16. So I'm going to click transfer shipment to the existing load, and I'm going to provide the load ID. And now you'll see that the load 15 will disappear. Well, not disappear, it'll change to load 16. So you have same load ID under two different shipments. So I'm going to copy that shipment and I'm going to complete the sales order loading work. So once I complete the sales order loading work, you'll see that the system is prompting us to enter the sales order load ID. So once I do that, this is where the magic happens. You'll have two picks from two shipments linked to one load. So this way you can do your shipment grouping to the load after the fact that the product's been staged. So this will give you more flexibility at the end. So I'm gonna quickly complete the work. I'm picking a second license plate. It can be a license plate, it can be a product, really depends on the scenario. And I'm doing my put, and for us, it's telling us to put it at the bay door. But in many cases, you're not gonna have one bay door. You're gonna have multiple bay doors, and many customers want to track from which bay door the product went out. So this is why you might need to use a location override if you have your static routes linked to a specific bay doors. Usually it's not the case, so that's why you want to use a location override. So I'm going to complete that and confirm my put. Work is now completed. So what just happened, we've replicated this scenario. We've released multiple sales orders, staged them, then we created load or multiple loads, you can do that too. Then you group the work from newly created loads and you finish your pick from staging to bay door. I hope you enjoyed this video and feel free to ask questions in the YouTube channel. Please subscribe, and until the next time, goodbye.